replay, it's like it's already running. So yeah, so basically what happens is as it's connecting, then people will get the pop-up on their app. So it's not quite connected, but as soon as it connects, people will then start popping in and they can write things in the little comment box there. Yeah.
Fab.
All
How are
right.
you?
Yeah, all right. Another day, another festive jumper, you know.
Yeah, same, same.
I'm on countdown actually because I'm finishing on Friday and I realise that sounds quite bold in lots of ways. I keep getting people saying, oh, I'm wrapping up on the 20th, the 21st. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm done. Like, I'm finished on Friday. So this feels like a really nice week just to make sure that everything's ticked off. And then that realisation that you can put it all down and come back to it in January. So yeah, I'm in that zone really. How about you?
Yeah, well, my advent calendar's still in full swing,
Yeah.
so I'm going to be going right up till the 24th, but I love it. Like my
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Eve, I have a class at the studio
Mm-hmm.
and I have a class online as well, like a live class, and it's one of my favorite classes of the year. So
Oh,
I tend to take a
gosh.
little like downtime, like first 2 weeks of January, then I'll be
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, that's it. And I think with coming into solstice as well, into winter solstice, there's always that bit where we can just get a little bit reflective and cozy, and it's really
Mhm.
nice in the yoga spaces. Like I get that. It's so lush. Yeah. So energy wise, I feel like for me, this time of year, I'm really keen on doing a digital detox. So I spoke about that in yesterday's live with Tanya. But up until this point, we can feel a bit like we've been here, we've been there, we've been everywhere. And so we thought we would get together today and talk specifically about Jo's presence, I guess I'm going to say, on Instagram and how she works with her followers and fans and clients and customers and all of those people. And then as she's arrived into Substack and launched what she wanted to do here, how that's all felt and how that's going. Because you've got a huge audience on Instagram and you are slowly bringing them over. And I don't actually think it's been that slow. I think people have kind of got it. And I know that people really struggle to explain what Substack is, to really kind of get people to wrap their heads around why they should arrive here, what the offer is. And I often say, take Substack out because it's just the platform that we're using to deliver the work. So I feel like there's something in that that we can dig into. But as a few people have arrived, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us who you are in the world? And then we'll go into some of that chat about Instagram and Substack.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Jo. I'm a yoga teacher. I've been a yoga teacher for coming up to 13 years. I've got senior yoga teacher status. I got that in 2019. I train people to be yoga teachers. So I've got a yoga teacher training school that I run and is my absolute joy and passion. I have a studio in Newcastle upon Tyne, which I've been running for a long time. And then probably about a year ago, I decided that I'd always had this self-limiting belief that the stuff that I was doing online was a supplement to my in-person stuff. So ev everything that I'd done online was very as for the people who came to my class, because I was like people who didn't know me in person, I couldn't understand why they would be interested
Mm-hmm.
in me online. So my Instagram, I've had it for a long time, but I'd always ran it very much as a, if you know me, it's a nurture place. It's a place where I talk to people who come to the studio. And then about a year ago, I was like, why? That's a self-limiting belief. And actually, maybe there are people out there who don't know me who would want to do yoga, do my style of yoga. So I went all in on Instagram, because I just wanted, because I feel I was a bit frustrated with the yoga space. I think there's a lot out there that's quite inaccessible. I think there's a lot out there that's for a particular ability level, and a particular like energy level. And coming from the northeast of England and coming from very working class background, I know that there's people who would really benefit from yoga who might not necessarily be turned on by the stuff that's already there. And in the yoga world, it's very much said like, that's, if you want to be popular, that's how you have to be online. And I know that a lot of my trainees and a lot of teachers that I know get very frustrated that there's this kind of narrative that if you want to be a successful yoga teacher online, that you have to, take pictures of yourself in your underwear doing fancy poses, and you have to, be a certain way. And I was like, why? I'm gonna really challenge that, and I'm gonna see if there's a space for people who just want to chill out a bit and like just have a nice time. and
Sit
and
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
sit down, have a
Breathe.
sit,
Yeah.
have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And there is
Mhm.
totally a space for that. And I was blown away actually by the response, because I started making videos in November last year, and I already had a platform, so I already knew Instagram. I wasn't completely starting from scratch. I knew how to make videos. I knew how to. I've had a membership model for a long time, probably about 6 years. So I wasn't going completely from scratch, but I decided to go all in on growing my platform in November last year, and by February I had 100,000 followers, um, which was
Wild,
just
yeah. It's wild. I loved
wild.
it. I love
Yeah,
it. And
I,
it was so funny because I have had Instagram breaks this year, like periods of time, like months at a time, where I don't open the app and like I've checked in on desktop. All of a sudden, I went to connect with you and I was like, wait, what happened, Joe? Because it was like such a huge intake of people. And also, I was super interested in the story behind that, like your story, how it felt, like how you were holding people from all over the world arrive into your Instagram space and what that felt like, because Instagram can be many things. Like it's a tool for connection. Obviously, there's the vanity metrics side of it. It can be really accessible. Like you say, people can be in any time zone and find a really cute yoga video to sit and do on their sofa or on the floor or whatever. And I love all of that. So it was so gorgeous to catch up with you and understand what had happened and where you'd put your energy. Because I think we caught up like properly in the pandemic when I was pregnant, and we were talking about online business and like how it was all going and things we were passionate about. And I was such a baby in that space at that time. Like I had this vision, but I was very nervous about talking to camera. I was very nervous about what I would talk about, like how it would be clear and not confusing when I was talking about creativity and creative practice. So it was really nice. And we had that like, yeah, me too. Like, let's see how it goes. And then that like nice reconnect as well, where you were like, hey, it's going really, really well on Substack for you. I was like, it is, Joe. And I was like, what have you been doing on Instagram? So it was like really nice, wasn't it?
yeah, it's lovely. I feel like we've had quite parallel journeys. They haven't been
Mm,
like quite separate, like
yeah.
very, very different. But I do feel like we've had, because we've probably been doing the same thing for about the same amount of years, haven't we? So we've
Mhm.
kind of been parallel, and
Yeah, I
it's
think
lovely.
so. And there's that appreciation from my side because my husband's a yoga teacher. And so there's that appreciation of like you carving out like your space and your voice and people being attracted to that. And I love that because Dave has some of that as well, like in terms of like not buying into like the shoulds and what you're meant to do in terms of like that yoga, I guess the yoga aesthetic or the online aesthetic, because I think it's deeper than yoga actually. I think there's a lot of it that is like built to build controversy to attract likes in and all of that. And obviously, you haven't done that. Like, you've done something where you're going to be consistent. Your videos are beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they're really professional and beautiful. And there's a nice bright backdrop. They're very attractive, but it's that I'm going to be simple with this and I'm going to make it so that people can watch it and feel like it's for them rather than like, oh, well, I could never be on a beach in Bali in my bikini doing a handstand, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was really important to me. One of my pet peeves is people bashing other people online. And one of my like core like way pathway things
Mm-hmm.
is that I won't, like, I can say things that I find irritating in the industry, because I think we do need to put our hands up and we need to,
Yeah.
change the industry. And we are the yoga community. So if you're a yoga teacher, you are the yoga community, you have a responsibility. But
Yeah.
I didn't want to be one of those teachers, when you go to someone's space and it kind of gives you a headache because it feels like it feels like they're very polarizing. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have a lot of opinions, but I wanted to create a really, like, I don't know, just a very soft landing for people.
Gentle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gentle. And I think I was talking about this yesterday on my live with Tanya about that permission, because we're always questioning whether we've got permission to be part of something. And I feel like with Happy Yoga on Instagram, there's just that instant connect, and not just for me, because I understand what yoga is. I think it can just be like, oh, it's Joe, it's Happy Yoga, it's simple, there's something clear that I'm being asked to do. And it's the same with the advent calendar. Like the bits that I've seen, I've been like, oh, thanks, Joe. Like that was really accessible and beautiful. I really loved it. And they're quite short, the advent calendar
Yeah.
pieces that you're doing those on Substack, right? You're doing those on Instagram as well?
No, so that
Yeah,
was one of the things to bring people over to
got you.
Substack. So I very much see Substack as an extension of my membership. So I've had the Happy Yoga Community, which is my main membership, and it's like my main container. But that's quite, there's 3 Zoom classes a week, and there's lots of things in the library. And one of the things that I was finding was that a lot of people were saying, look, I love this, but I just
Mm-hmm.
don't have time and
Got
space and
you.
energy. So I wanted to create something where it was like, okay, you can come, you don't have to change your clothes, you don't have to get your mat out, you literally just, it's come as you are, you do it, you leave, you get on with your life, bish bash bosh. You've managed to have a bit
Yeah,
of relaxation. And
yeah.
so the Substack was very much like, I don't see it as, I think I might see it in my ecosystem slightly differently to how other people see
Mm-hmm.
their Substacks, because
Mm-hmm.
it is a container for, I see it more like a membership.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the advent calendar, I do it I've done it for 9 years. I absolutely love that advent calendar. And that's like my offering to everybody, because this time of
Mm-hmm.
year is just crazy. So I wanted to create something that was like, you can come and join in, you don't have to be a member. But it was also like, uh I suppose that the word is lead magnet, but
Mm-hmm.
I hate that
No, but
language
it's
around
it's
it.
helpful in terms of Instagram follower
Mhm.
to email subscriber, right? Because on
Yeah.
Substack, that's what we've got. We've got readers, and we've also got their email addresses, right? So that might just stay that exchange, and they might be a reader of our work and be a free subscriber, but they also might upgrade to paid or might buy something from us. And I think it's really helpful for us to be transparent about that, because there's an active service and value in that. But that some of those people probably will want to join X, Y, and Z at the end, in the middle, wherever next year. It's part of them getting to know you, your brand, what you're about. Like that connection is deepening, and showing up every day is something that is just, it's savvy. It is savvy, because it's like gentle enough where it's like, oh, there's Joe again. I might or I might not do it, but it's a long enough period where people can eventually get to the point where they might try one, and then they might go, oh, I might do a couple of others while I'm here. So it's a great format. I love it.
And I just think when you're bringing people over, you have to be so clear about what the person is going to get by going over.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I think you've really got to sell it to come over. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you get someone's email address, like that's a big responsibility. They're giving you something really precious, and
Mm-hmm.
like you're going to land into their inbox, and that's a real like they've trusted you. And I think that you need to, if you just say come to my Substack, I don't think people have the language or the understanding of what's like the my especially with my audience is just people on the phones, like it's just normal people. They don't have the language of
Mm-hmm.
like social media, and so if I said come to my Substack, they wouldn't understand what that meant.
Yeah.
So you need to speak in the language that they understand, and make it really clear. Be like, this is come over for this, and this
This
is
is the
what I'm
crux.
gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna give you
Mm-hmm.
this. Because when I first came, I did a complete beginners class
Mm-hmm.
course. So it was a full 6 week complete beginners course. And that was how I got the first lot of people over. And then the advent
And
calendar
that
is
was
how I'm getting
free. Was that free?
completely free. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really high
Um,
value. Yeah.
yeah. And I just love giving high value stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of my like um core values in my business is that I want to make yoga accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that everything that I do has to be free.
No.
I'm definitely allowed to make money from,
Mhm.
and I need to because
Mhm.
I've got bills to pay. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I wanted was to, if you couldn't afford it, or there would be a way for you to still join in and get value. I don't
Mhm.
see my free subscribers as any, like, they're still part of the community.
Yeah, part of that community. And I think
Yeah.
also it really helps with just there's already a barrier because it's Substack, right? So
Mhm.
if taking the word Substack out of it, it's another platform. They're on Instagram, right? So it's like 170,000 of them are following you on Instagram. And so to ask them to move is already a big thing because they're there to consume Instagram content. They've opened up the app to do whatever they're doing. So capturing their attention and inviting them into something of high value is really beautiful. I wonder, Joe, I can't remember when we first started working together, when you started bringing people over, whether you would remember, was it like April time
Yeah.
this year? Yeah. So it
No,
could.
it was, I started my Substack in July.
Oh, July. Oh, so literally,
Mhm.
so half a
Yeah.
year, right? Great, amazing. And so when you were first starting, and we were having some DMs backward and forward because you're in Diamond membership, so I do that there, where we were talking about strategy, we were talking about language, all of that sort of stuff. You would like pop up, or would have a flurry of DMs, and then you would just crack on, and I wouldn't hear anything for ages, and I was like, okay, it must all be working. And then all of a sudden, there was a bestseller badge popped up, and I was like, okay, I think she's done it. It's worked. So in that period, I wonder if you could just track back for us, and you're showing up on Instagram in grids, in stories. Like, how is that working? Are you talking? Are you doing a series of stories that like are linked? How did it work? What the practical side of it?
So this is a part of my business that I'm just learning, is
Mhm,
how to connect the dots.
mhm, mhm.
Because I feel like there's little components of the business, isn't there? And like I learned how to like get people eyes on it, and then I was like, but then how do I get them to like connect over, and at the beginning, I have to say I wasn't very good at it at all.
Mm,
Um, and but now it is just as simple for me as adding that little bit onto my, so I just show up as I normally would, but I connect everything back to the Substack. On so the way my Substack works is you get one free, no, you get one, if you're a paid member, you get one short yoga session that you can do, or meditation that you can do a week on a Monday.
mhm.
And if you're a free subscriber, you get one a month.
One a month, yeah.
And with that one a month, what I was doing and is that I post a shorter version on my Instagram, and I
Mm,
say, and if you like that, there's a longer version at the Substack, and
mhm.
then send the links. So I use a something called ManyChat, which
Oh
is
yeah.
a,
Mhm.
yeah, DM automation service. So
Automation.
someone
Yeah.
puts a keyword in, they automatically get sent a DM.
Mhm.
But I'm not very good at um I've never had that kind of brain that can like batch content, or like plan content out in the, I don't know what it is about my brain. It makes me very stressed when I have to like think of things in
Mhm.
advance. I can only really do things in the moment. So I was, at first, I found it quite hard to get people over, but then it was the making the beginners course, um and bringing people over that way, and then that advent calendar, and that's how I've got people over, and linking it back. So making sure that when I post something on Instagram, there's a direct line through
Yeah.
to the Substack. So if I'm going to be posting, like today, I've posted on Instagram, I a way to soothe tired eyes, and
Nice.
then in the advent calendar, the door today is a longer version of that.
Mhm.
So, and I've said, and if you like that, you might like the advent calendar, and then they come through to the
Nice.
advent calendar. So it's making sure there's a through line. But I didn't, with my Substack, I started it in July, and I didn't get any paid subscribers until August, and then mid-August I got 100 paid subscribers in August, and that was when I changed the format of my Substack. So that was when I made it really clear
Yeah.
what you got, and I made it the yoga for tired people, because
The yoga for tired people. Yeah.
yeah, because before that it was just like a magazine. So it was just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was like yoga things, and
Yeah.
it was nice and it was fun. But I actually changed it for me because I was like,
Mm,
I've got the Instagram, I've got the studio, I've got the yoga teacher training. I was like, I can't have another nebulous
mhm,
like suck of time.
mhm,
I need to make this super clear.
mhm.
And because I've been in memberships for a long time, I've had the Happy Yoga community. I've learned many a lesson about how to run a membership. And
Mhm.
the most important thing is that it's if it's unclear to you and overwhelming to you, it's going to be overwhelming to your members.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
more clear you can make it for yourself. And so I was like, right,
Mhm.
let's make it. It's only going to be videos that you can do w- without changing your clothes or getting out your mat.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think that makes it, people are like, okay, I get that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really easy thing, and obviously you can model that as well. Like
Mhm.
you're sat there just being like, okay, like I've sat down, I've sat down, and there's a thing to do, and it's really beautiful. So when people are arriving and they've never come to the Substack platform before, they don't know what it is, they've not heard of it. How's that been? Like, have you had to answer emails, DMs, inquiries? Like, have they just cracked on with it? What's that all felt like at large?
I have, God, touch wood, but I feel like people have just cracked on with it. I
Nice.
really do. I think that people are used to platforms. I think that's
Platforms
a
in general, yeah.
platforms in general. So they're like, okay, here's a new one.
Yeah.
The problem I've had, the main problem I've had
Mm,
is people signing up, and then having their preferences for the things to go to the app
mhm.
without them knowing, and then being like, where's my emails? But
Okay.
it's quite easily fixed because I just send
Yeah.
them I've got like a Loom video where I like show them how to do it, and I'm
How
like,
to
I
do
just
it.
said,
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
send them that.
Mhm.
And obviously that's something I can't do on my side, so I can't like go in and be like, just change your preferences.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think people have been really good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been like I've moved people from platform to platform many. It's like in my studio I've moved from Mindbody to like
Mm.
every single book and software you can possibly imagine. I have moved hundreds and thousands of clients over to software, and I have to say again, touch wood, but it hasn't been that bad. It really hasn't.
Mhm. And I think some of that is your energy though, Joe, because you're very calm. Obviously you're a yoga teacher, so there's a lot of calm that you bring to the space. So sometimes, and I think people will get a lot from this point, the internet feels like an emergency. There's a red
Mhm.
notification, there's a thing, there's an email, and people sometimes in that tone are quite urgent in that tone because
Mhm.
it feels urgent as they're writing it, but it's fine. Like, we're not saving lives. It's social media, it's yoga, it's subscriptions, it's memberships, it's managing people. So I always say, it's part of our job to
Mhm.
help people understand the platform because they're going to have a better experience. So anything you can do, like your Loom video, and I have welcome videos as well in my welcome emails, are super, super helpful. And then also just holding it gently, like if somebody does get confused, because it's horrible being confused. Like, I've gone, just for research purposes, I've gone onto Threads and I've gone onto Blue Sky just to see what it's like to be on a new platform and be like, well, I don't know what to do here. Like, what do I press? Like, yes, there are some buttons that feel akin to other platforms and other spaces, but it's still new, isn't it? So I do think that that's a really good tip for people as they're bringing people from Instagram or another platform, to know that there is going to be some confusion unless you guide them a little bit. Like, a video is a brilliant idea. A screen sharing video I have that I recorded on Zoom, but Loom's great too. So that's a really nice tip. Thanks, Joe.
Honestly, it's the less you're so right, the less of a deal you make of it, the less of a deal it's going to be.
Mm,
I remember the first time I moved booking software from, I had to move like, I think there was like 2,000 people. I had to move from um, Mind Body over to, I think it was Wellness Living. Can't remember. These are yoga studio booking software, so they probably don't mean anything to anyone listening. But and the first time I did it, I was like, it's going to be at this time, it's going to happen here. Blah, 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 blah. And it was a nightmare. It was an actual living nightmare because everyone was asking us loads of questions. And then the
mm,
second time I was like, I'm just not going to tell people. I'm just going to say, from now on, we're using this software. This
mm.
is your login link, change your password, and not a peep. Like,
Yeah.
I think people don't pay as much attention to the, obviously tell them, like, don't it doesn't need to be, don't be cloak and daggers about it. But
Mhm.
like you say, the more panicked you are about it, the more panicked they're
Mhm.
they're going to be, because I think there's a lot of fear around using technology.
Yeah.
So if, especially for people who might not necessarily use it in their work,
Mhm.
and I think it's a generational thing as well. I know that people have self-identified as not being good with technology, and so it like brings a lot of shame. It brings a lot of um, you know, like ideas they've got about themselves and about their worth. And
Mhm.
I just think there's a lot in it. And so if you can be a calm guide and like, it's fine, it's just a
Yeah.
platform, it's fine.
With what we're
Um,
doing. Yeah. 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 And then, when people are in your Substack ecosystem, so obviously Instagram content is free content. Do you have one of those like private groups on Instagram, or do you not do that? Where you can have like a private group and sort of message people, but they can't message back. They can just leave emojis. Do you know what I mean? I don't even know what it's called, but you don't have that.
Broadcast channel, I think that's
Broadcast
what.
channel. There we go. We got the lingo. Any
No,
broadcast channels anywhere?
I don't have anything like that. And one of the reasons why I don't is because I try and keep my ecosystem as simple as possible, because
Mhm.
I have over the years started Facebook groups, let them die a death. I've started like, even the Substack chat is like, I love it. I absolutely love it, but it
Mhm.
could totally go the way of a Facebook group where you start it up, it all start, because it's actually quite a lot of energy holding that space
Yeah.
for like
Mhm.
the community. And I feel like um I just need it to be simple for myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because
Same
you
here.
because people ask questions, and you
Mhm.
don't want a million different pockets where people
Portals.
could be
Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
questions in, like, and then you
Mhm.
miss stuff. So someone says, oh, I emailed you about this, or oh, I sent you a text message, or oh, I've put it in the Facebook group, or I put it in
Mhm.
the like,
I
if you
know.
have all the moving parts, you need to be like, this is where you ask me a question, this
Yeah,
is where
that's
you get
true.
your information. And I
Mhm.
think you have to be the container of your energy for that as well. Like, I
Mhm.
think if the more you're like, this is where you find the information,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
more people appreciate it, because they're like, that's where we find the information. Like, there
Mhm.
can't be any room for like questioning in it. I think the more that you're like, this is how it works,
Mhm.
the more people, and people like that as well. I think people really respond well to certainty. I think when there's any fear, it creates an unsafe space, like not unsafe in like actual safety because it's the internet, but like for
Mhm.
your nervous system, if you feel like the person who's facilitating, they can be vulnerable, they can be people, but
Mhm.
you need to know that they're like in control. And
Yeah.
they um and for a long time I wasn't, because I would be like, no, just contact me anywhere and it's fine.
Yeah,
And
boundaries.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
and
It's
and
true. And this is the thing I've been saying about Substack TMs. Turn them off. Like, just turn
Mhm.
them off. Like, they weren't there before. You could always get in touch with people. Like, it's a nice to have for sure. But if it's overwhelming, or if you're getting like weirdness sliding in there, like, why are you even spending energy on it? Like, to be focused and to build what we've built, me on Substack and you on Instagram, you need to be focused. Like, you need to pour energy in, creative energy, like creative fire energy. Like, we need to be really kindling what it is that we're here for and who we're here to serve. And if we're distracted by dodgy DMs on Substack or any other portal, it's just like
Mhm.
too much, isn't it? Like, we've got to protect our chi and all of that. So we've got your Instagram followers, and obviously they haven't got a broadcast channel. They're just there. They're on your stories. They're in the grid. You're pretty consistent there with what you're sharing, and it all links back to the Substack yoga for tired people. And then you've got your other ecosystem and business suite where they can come to an in-person class, which is so lovely. So if you're in the Northeast, you definitely should. And then they can do an online the membership and do a bigger commitment to yoga with you. So the Substack is the smaller commitment, and then there's another yoga membership that's a bigger commitment. Gorgeous. And so it's only been a few months, but how is that working? Are people choosing like the Substack and then going into the other place, the other membership? Is it that people will go from Instagram into the bigger membership, into the in-person classes? Does it kind of mix up?
It's really mixed.
Mm.
So I think with yoga, because there's literally thousands, hundreds of thousands, and possibly
Mhm.
millions of people
Mhm.
given free, like free yoga out
Yeah.
there. Absolutely. So there's not an information deficit. What
Mhm.
there is a connection deficit.
Nice. Yeah.
So what Yoga for Tired People has done is that it's allowed people to get to know me a little bit and to trust me a
Mhm.
little bit,
Mhm.
so that if they do, and some do and some don't, want to then do longer classes, then they they trust me that I'm going to hold the space for them, and that they already like they kind of get it, because I think that there's something really vulnerable about unrolling your mat and press and play on like it's especially like if you go to a studio, it's a very contained space, but
Mhm. Mhm.
you've got the washing on, you've got your kids, you've got your like it, you need something to anchor yourself to your home practice. And so what you need someone who you understand, like you trust and you like.
Mhm.
And what Yoga for Tired People has done is given people the space to like get to know me a little bit in like a not as, in quite a it's a bit more than Instagram, but it's not quite the main membership. And then
Yeah.
um I've had, I think it's probably about 50-50 people come into the main membership either just straight because they come to Instagram and then they go, right, I don't want to do little classes, I want to do like full on
Yeah.
classes. So
Yeah.
they go straight in. And then
Mhm.
there's people who've done the Yoga for Thai people and they're like, oh, actually, because I think a lot of people would really like to do yoga, but they think maybe they're just not a yoga person.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so by doing the shorter classes, they're like, oh, actually, maybe yoga, I don't have to be a yoga person to
Mhm.
do yoga. Maybe I can
Mhm.
just do yoga. I can just be a
Yeah.
person and
Just be
do yoga.
yoga. Yeah.
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 Just,
Yeah.
and and I think that's really nice. So I've had quite a few clients come in that way. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just lovely because you really get to know them on Substack as well. Like on Instagram, you see the same names popping up, but then they're gone.
Mhm.
Whereas with Substack, it's like there's a bit of um like I get to see their notes and I get to
Mhm.
see like what they like and what they
Yeah.
read. And there's like it really is like l- it's really similar to the in studio classes. Really, it is
Nice.
building that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
feel that as well. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, I feel like over time I can get to know someone on a deeper level. Like if I have time to see a couple of notes and then I click over to an article and they might already be one of my members, right? And it's just like it's taken me some time to come to their work. And I love that about Substack, like that there are those little nudges and points of connection all over the platform. I really like that. It's nice. I feel like as well, like because it can feel, I don't know if, I mean, obviously that is just a lot of people, 170,000 followers. Like when I say it out loud, I'm just like, it makes me feel like a tiny bit sick, but I've had some of that as well. Like even at 1,000 subscribers, I felt physically sick. I was like, a
Mhm.
thousand people is so many people. Like there's definitely some energetic work in feeling okay about writing an email to 1,000 people, and obviously 1,000 people aren't opening it, but they're still there, like still a thing. And now on Substack, it's like 12,000, and that's easeful. Like I feel easeful about that. So I wonder if you could speak to any of that, Joe, like speaking to bigger audiences, like being able to be like 100% yourself in that, like the professional version of yourself, of course, but how that feels, and how you've kind of coped with those vulnerabilities when your audience did blow up.
Oh, it was awful, Claire. It was absolutely awful. Like
The
I'm
worst
not
thing
gonna.
ever.
It was, and I know that sounds like it was because I. It was really funny, like because I don't think I've completely processed it yet. Because when you're
No. Well,
saying
how
that,
could you?
like, because my brain, like, I'm not. I'm smart, but I'm still human. Like,
Yeah.
I can probably comprehend 35 people, and then
Yeah, in a
after
class.
that.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, in a room. Yeah.
And then after that, it's just a football crowd, isn't it? Like I can't
Mhm.
think of a bigger. There's not. Um, and I remember saying to my husband, so because I was like, yeah, I'm going all in. It's like
Mhm.
this is. But as you know, like all overnight successes, you put the work in. It takes ages. You think it's not going to work. I've done 10 years of work, and
Mhm.
then suddenly, but when the success came, it came so freaking fast,
In a
so
way, yeah,
fast. Like
yeah,
it just went, and
yeah.
I was not like my nervous system was used to because so in the December, so last year when I did my advent calendar, I had
Mm.
2,000 followers on Instagram.
Mhm.
Um, and then by
2,000 followers, lovely followers. Like
lovely.
that was the play space. Like that was, when we circle back to when we were chatting as online business owners in the pandemic, like that was what we were chatting about. Just yeah, it's wild. It's wild, Joe.
It's
Carry on. Carry on.
totally wild. It's totally wild. And then and then there was just more of an appetite than I thought.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
I flew a little bit too close to the sun. And I remember saying to my husband,
Icarus vibes. Got
and
you.
I totally did. I said to my husband, when I get 10,000 followers, we're going to go for
Mhm.
dinner.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Jesmond Dean. We're going to have
Mhm.
like a really special dinner when I get 10,000 followers, So
Mhm.
that was like, I had like, I'm going to get 10,000 followers by the end of the year, total stretch
Yeah.
goal, like
Hmm.
madness.
Hmm.
And I put, so from that November, from the December to the February, I got 100,000 followers in that really short amount of time, and it was so dysregulating to my nervous system. I went completely like I couldn't like things like Alison Goldfrapp, Zoe Ball, Davina McCall, like all of these people were following us, and I was like, what's going
The celebs
on?
in here. The celebs in here. I love it. I
It
love it.
was like,
It's cool.
what, like seriously, what's going on?
Mhm.
And I would love, I don't want to be like poor me because it was such an exciting, wonderful time. And
Yeah, of
now I'm
course.
so,
Yeah.
but I was
Mhm.
also like freaking out in a really
Mhm.
like, because I suddenly felt naked. Like I was like,
Mhm.
oh, and I had to go back through my feed and be like, you know, because I'd always been talking to my friends and people that I knew, so there was
Mhm.
things like pictures of my front door. There was things like really out and stuff about like the coffee shop that I go to that's dead. Like I had to like
Yeah.
go through and be
Yeah.
like,
Privacy
right.
check. Yeah. Hmm.
And I found at first I really changed the way that I talked online. So I suddenly became quite like, I don't know, Sunday version of me, where I was like, won't swear, won't this,
Hmm.
because I don't think that, I think because of the way that we are around people online, I think after you get a
Hmm.
certain number of followers, people stop seeing you as human and start seeing you
Yeah.
as a
Okay.
brand.
Okay.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
so they start seeing you as like an influencer or someone who gets paid a lot of money. And like,
Okay.
obviously, I hadn't had like the growth of like getting brand deals or like I haven't had any
Yeah.
of that. Like,
I'm not now.
um, and it's so. But if you see someone with that amount of followers, you just automatically think, oh, they're more like a business than a person.
You do. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Got you.
and so it was really strange to have to like go back and like decide how I was going to be because people would say things because
Mhm.
and I never got any like nasty comments or anything like that. I haven't. I'm very
Yes, because
lucky.
we spoke about that one because we went for a little spa date, Joe and I, to celebrate our 2024 successes, and we spoke about that. And I, like, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, Joe, like, how on earth have you not had any nasty comments or trolls? Because I was in this like real sort of wrung out space of going like, I don't want more of it. Like, what do I need to do to stop it happening or to manage myself differently in it? And like, why has it happened and why now? And I've been really exposed with the book. I should mention the book, just a slight aside, but it's out everywhere now. But it was this book that was bringing them in. So it was like me taking up too much space and being too seen and too vocal and too like expert, or so there was
Mm.
some stuff going on for me that I really wanted to process, and talking to Joe was incredible. Like, I'm so grateful that we did that, and you were able to like say some, and you won't even see it as sophisticated probably, but it was so sophisticated the way you articulated things back to me in terms of that separation of self. I absolutely loved it. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to add that in. Thank you.
No, and that was yeah, it was lovely. It was such a. It is really nice to have a buddy. I would say
Mm-hmm.
as well for people who are just starting their Substacks, get buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Get buddies who understand, who are at the same place that you can do
Yeah,
things like go for a spot. It makes because your friends don't understand.
yeah,
Like your friend,
yeah.
like your friends are lovely, your family are lovely, but it's it's so alien. it's just
Yeah.
an alien world, and
Yeah.
you have to change your mindset so much to be able to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
that you need people who can understand the language. But going back to the trolls, like I haven't, I've been so lucky. But I do get people having an opinion a lot, which is fine. People are allowed to have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it can be a lot when it's 100,000 people all having an
Mm-hmm.
opinion about something. Like I remember I posted on Easter, and I'd posted something about have a lovely bank holiday. And I
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of like really angry comments from Americans who obviously don't understand. I don't know if they have bank holiday. I think they might call it something else, but they were like,
No,
it's
they
Easter.
don't. They
They were
don't
like,
have the holidays we
they were
have.
like,
No.
they were like,
Hmm.
why are you denying Jesus? It's the
Yeah.
Easter Monday. And I was like, oh,
Hmm.
one, it's not my job
Yeah.
to validate Jesus. Like, oh, I'm just eating me chocolate eggs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
also, I'm like from a completely different culture.
Hmm.
Like, and I've that like cultural shift of being like, okay, I'm not just speaking to the north people from the
The
northeast of
global.
England
Yeah,
now,
I've got that as well. Yeah.
where
Hmm.
I've had to be like, okay, so I have to be more inclusive with the language that I use, and I can't like, so I'll say colloquialisms, and people will be like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to like, but then I think there's also a limit to that as well. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
just like, some things on the internet aren't for you, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Like you're allowed to create stuff on the internet
Mm.
that's for certain people. So it was
Yeah.
getting that balance of being like, how do I still be me
Mm.
when in a safe way when there's so many eyes on us.
So many
And
eyes, and it's that global palatability, isn't it, without losing our authentic essence,
yeah.
like, and that's what I've been in as well. Like, it's been like since I started on Substack in 2022, my audience was primarily from overseas, and then mainly American, because it was really big in America to start with, and then obviously it was coming out in the UK and Europe. So that happened like gradually, but there's still things that I've done because I feel comfortable, that I then like check myself with afterwards. Because, like you said, in terms of our culture and the way that we do things in the UK, it is just very normal to say to somebody in the UK, have an amazing Christmas. Like, that's the language that we use. Not just in the Northeast, like the whole of the UK, we would say that. And obviously, we would be sensitive if we were in the room with people who don't celebrate Christmas, but it's very embodied in us. Like, it's a big deal in the UK to use the word Christmas, but it isn't attached in the same way it might be in certain other communities where it's all about the religious connotations of
Mhm.
Christmas. And so that's been a big one for me, because I didn't opt to say holidays, like happy holidays, because we don't say that. And I want to use my voice. But a couple of people just said, like, it's actually a bit alienating when you say Christmas party, like, because we just connect Christmas with the religious ceremonies around Christmas, and not like you guys maybe do, where we always called the end of year party at work the Christmas party. Like, wherever you worked, it was the Christmas party, and it had an element of dinner and dancing and drinks and merriment and silliness, and the Christmas party was always like the Christmas party. Like, it's just its own identity. So that was a really interesting one for me. And I still think going forward, there is work to do on that nuance between staying who I am and people, liking that and wanting that connection to the UK and the connection to my background and culture, but also feeling included. And I'm so about having people feel included. So yeah, it's really important, and it's not always easy, is it, to kind of know that stuff globally when you've lived here all your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you don't know, like
Mm.
you don't know what you don't know. Like I didn't, because I have a lot of Americans and I have a lot of Australians, and I have a lot of Canadians, and I love them because I've never traveled. Um,
Okay.
I've never I always wanted to, but I grew up with no money, and so we didn't
Mhm.
have any money. And then we had so when I graduated university, I didn't have a chance to have a gap year,
Yeah.
as lots of people don't. And then then I had a business and I couldn't leave my business. So I
Mm,
wanted, I've always, I'm saying that because I would love to travel. It's just my life has never, but I feel like I am so interested in other people's cultures. Like
yeah, same. Yeah.
I'm really nosy. Like I want to know like what you have in your supermarkets. I want to know what you're having for dinner. I want to know like
Mm,
what you do when you go and visit your parents. Like I want to know what animals you've got in your fields. Like
mm,
I want to know what your front door like I love that. Like I'm so
mhm,
nosy about how
mhm,
other people and other cultures live their lives. And I feel like I've almost been able to travel doing the Substack because I'm like
mm.
getting to know people from
Oh,
different
that's so
cultures in a
nice.
very
Yeah.
it's in a very domestic, cozy way.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like it has really been a cultural exchange because obviously
Mhm.
we talk about Americans, but like America's massive and
Huge, yeah,
it's
yeah.
absolutely
There's lots
huge.
of nuance depending on like who you're
Mhm.
speaking to and where they're from, and yeah, like some of that stuff reflected back. Like in the early days of the membership, people were saying like you're more Silicon Valley than you are Northeast England, and I like had to Google it. I was like, what? Like I
What?
didn't have the cultural reference at all. I was like, I'm sure it's a compliment, but I really don't know, so I better just check like what that connection is. But yeah, no, it's really fun, and I like that with Instagram because when I put stuff on my Instagram story, so when I'm present on Instagram, like I'm very sharey. Like I'll share, I'm on a dog walk, like I'll have a little chat, like I'll share what we're up to. Like I love all of that stuff. And I was talking the other day about the Christmas food cupboard. Again, there's that word Christmas. So there's the Christmas food cupboard, and I'm not the only one to have a Christmas food cupboard. And my pal over in the States was like, wait, what? Like, what is what is in the Christmas food cupboard? And I was like, well, Christmas food. She was like, well, but what is in there? And so when I went to the supermarket, I sent her a little video of the Christmas aisle. She was like, you guys have a whole aisle dedicated to Christmas food. And I was like, yeah, like here are all the nuts. Here is the stollen, the mince pies, all the chocolate stuff, the gingerbread houses. Like it is literally like Willy Wonka on crack this year. It's like insane. There's like 2 aisles in Lidl where I go. And of course, like that's a delightful thing, that end of year. I've got the Christmas food cupboard. It's up high, so technically I'm not supposed to go in there, but like I've had a big year, so I've been in there. I've been in there. We've been enjoying some Christmas nuts and all sorts. So it was really cool. And then she sent me a couple of things that they can get in their supermarkets in the States. And I was like, I feel really sad for you. Like, I want to send you like the whole Christmas food cupboard, like over in a package, right? Because it's just so precious and special and feels different. It's probably just grossly inflated prices and packaging. I haven't really like broken it down that much, but again, it was that reminder of like we're just living in completely different bubbles. You know, the presumptions that we make about having a Christmas food cupboard and a Christmas aisle and stuff, and that being a universal thing. Yeah, it's not. It's not like that. It's just different, isn't it? And so that's nice to get to know people and to get to know what they're celebrating and how their end of years are going to look.
It's gorgeous that we can do that as well. Like I would love
Mm,
that. Like I would love like when people do you know when people say, "What could I do a Substack about?" I'm like, just show us like what you're
mhm.
getting for your shot. Like
Oh,
on a
massively. Yeah.
Monday, send us
Mhm.
like I would totally be I would pay for that to just have a look at what people are getting for
Let's have
for
a
their
look.
have a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
neb. Like
yeah.
I love that. And
Mhm.
I feel like I've really had to stop doing that as much. And maybe in the next year I'll start doing that a little bit more on my
Mm.
stories because I used to be, well, you've followed me for years, so you know, like I used to be so because the assumption was just everybody knew us and everybody already liked us. So in my stories, I would like I was a bit like I'm a bit odd. Like I am an odd person. Like like my sense of humor is really important to us.
Mm.
Um, and I would have a laugh on my
Mm.
Instagram quite a lot. So I would have, I would post things about my lunch. I would post things about my cats. I would post things about like going for walks. I would just like, as I was going about my day, I would post. And I
Mhm.
don't do that. Like I've had to, and I don't think I could. And I think it's right that I don't do it as much now,
Yeah.
um, because I just think it would be yeah, for my own safety and my own
Yeah,
like
sense of
mental
like what
health.
you're doing there. Yeah,
But
yeah. And
I
because
do
that would
miss
would
that.
get a lot of response as well, wouldn't it? Because although they know your yoga content and like they're there for that, like if you did share your cats and there was people would want to respond to
Mhm.
that, and then that would be a whole load of energy coming in, wouldn't it? So that's an interesting one as well, like
I
because
think maybe
that's
because
busy.
it used to just be my friends, like it used to,
Hmm.
and it was my clients as well, and I was using it as a
Yeah.
job, but it was like,
Hmm.
if you are following me on Instagram, you had met me, I knew you,
Hmm.
this was a real
Yeah.
relationship. Like, and not that I'm
Mm.
saying that online relationships aren't real, but there
Mm.
was there was a an already established like understanding there,
Yeah.
like almost like good faith was already like
Mm.
you knew you were operating from a place of good faith.
Mhm.
And I do miss having that like space to like chat with my friends, because can you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, like Instagram was such an important place because we were all
Yeah,
like,
voice noting and like connecting in, and yeah, there was just a lot, wasn't there, that just felt like an extension because our worlds became smaller really quickly. Then the online world became like that really important place of connection, didn't it? And yeah, it was a really special time to be online in lots of ways. Um, yeah. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, so but just I'm really trying to make sure that I'm getting everything out, and you guys can ask questions. Like Joe's got, we've not got much longer, but we've got a bit of time if you want to ask any questions specifically about nurturing an audience on Instagram. So Joe's got 170,000 on Instagram and has brought some of them into Substack, into the ecosystem to be readers and receivers of her beautiful yoga advent calendar at the moment, and a free class a month, and then also a paid membership. So, like a light touch paid yoga membership that feeds a bigger one. So, if you have got any questions about how all that's working, that would be really good. I wonder if we just circle back slightly, Joe, from when you first started and you were allowing yourself to just take up space on Substack and allowing the ideas to pop up and thinking about things. I know you had a little call with Substack as well, and like they were trying to sort of, be like, okay, like you've got a big audience, what are you doing with them, So, is there anything from that period where, because I know I have people here and then people will listen in the future who are in that sticky place where they can't quite figure out how it fits? Is there anything that you can share about that? Like, my thing is like, take your time, because while you are filling up the blank space, the ideas will keep dropping in. So I'm really passionate about that because I did that. That was my process for Substack. But do you think there's anything from that period that you could share that would help people that are in that place of like, maybe a bit like, oh, I don't know, and it's not working. I've got my mailing list over there and I'm not sure. Like, what was it within that period that just made it all drop in for you and made it clear?
well, I loved that period. Obviously, I can go
Mm-hmm.
back with Pink's tinted spectacles on,
Mm-hmm.
but I really loved coming to. So I didn't bring any email list over. I've
Mm-hmm.
imported over my paid members from my
Yeah,
membership, my main membership, so they all
yeah,
have access to the Substack. I
nice.
haven't imported my email list over, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I will. Maybe I will, don't know. And one of the reasons for that was because, well, one of the reasons why I'd started going in on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and going in online anyway was because I was feeling like I wanted to have something creative that was mine. So I was at a point in my business where the yoga teacher training had been running for 5 years. So that was like it was ticking on. It's a really lovely place to be. But I had, it's started a studio. I
Mm-hmm.
had made the studio successful. I had created a yoga teacher training. Like it's a lot of work to write a yoga teacher training. Like it's like writing a book. You've got to write a manual. You've got to write all of the
PhD, yeah, it's
like it's
amazing.
a lot of work. And then that was running itself more or less. And so I was at a point where I was like, oh, what do I do? Like
Mm-hmm.
what? Because I'm not, I always say to myself, I'm going to make this successful and then I'm going to retire. but what
Love
actually
it.
happens? But actually, what
How's that
happens?
going, Joe?
Well, what happens is I go bored and then I
Love it
burn
so
that
much. Yeah,
down and I
yeah.
start something else because I
Mm-hmm.
actually really like the building of something. And there was
Mm-hmm.
just this really lovely part when I came to Substack. And it was the same when I was doing the Instagram videos at first, actually, was that I was just really experimenting and playing and creating. And people love that. Like
Yeah.
people really.
taking them with you on that journey and be like, I'm here, but I might also go over here a little bit and experiment creatively here. Yeah.
And it's just something really, like, I've got a degree in I've got a performance degree, and one of the things that we were told again and again in our in at university was like, you cannot over egg how important play is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have space to play, then, and I'm a fun vampire, so I will take something that I really enjoy and then I'll be like, how can I monetize this? How can I like, how can I take this thing? Like I can't like just take up knitting. As soon as I start knitting, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna open an Etsy shop. I'm gonna, and there's like this really lovely part
Yeah.
of like Substack where I came and I landed and I was like, oh, I can just play. And I was doing things like I was writing poetry and I was putting poetry up and I was
I
like,
did not see this. Okay.
oh, I was like, well, poetry, like really bad, but it was bad.
Poetry, no poetry. Come on. Like
It
we're
was,
allowed, aren't we? We're allowed to be creative expressionists. It's all good.
I was just like writing about like going to McDonald's with my niece. I was writing about like how I was writing about grief. I was writing about like, and because there is this part of being a yoga teacher that is really creative. Like you have to have this creative element in you. That's like you have to have an artistic soul, like in
Yeah.
order to be able to like take people on the journey. Like I really feel like yoga teaching's about creating a story and a journey and getting people to like learn how to travel it themselves, but they have to like it's a very creative space, and I'm a very like I'm not a very accomplished like creative person. Like I can't, there's nothing that I can do that's like, I'm not a good drawer, I'm not a good poet, I'm not a good, but I just really enjoy doing it. And there was just this lovely brief moment at Substack where I was like, I don't know what this is going to be.
Mm.
Maybe it's just going to be like 2008 Tumblr, and I'm just going to write like, I'm just going to make it a interview with the vampire fan page. Like, I don't know what it's going to be. And so I would say like, just enjoy like the freedom that comes
Mm.
with not having, um, without having like obviously you have to be professional to a level, but like, and I think if you build it slowly, because I don't regret anything that's happened to us. Like it would be very it would be pretty like out of touch and a bit wanky for me to say, like, but I think having that just explode so fast meant
Mm.
that I didn't get to build an identity. It's like I'm almost doing that backwards. I'm like,
In
I've
reverse.
now got
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
got the platform and now I'm having to like learn who I am within the platform.
Mhm.
And it's quite difficult. Like I'm like, there's a lot of people who join me for one thing, and now because I'm trying to find my feet, like there's a big turnover at the minute of people on my platform. And I
Mm.
think that it's but if you start slow and you build, then you can have that creative play in this really safe and lovely way, and people can come with you. And I just think that's really, it's just gorgeous. And
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast the other day, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying that, and this isn't like mind blowing, like everyone's heard of this before, but they were like, but do you know when something just hits you different when you
Mm.
hear it? And they were like, the journey is the destination. So if you
Mhm.
can't enjoy it at the beginning, you
Mm.
won't be able to, there isn't going to be a point where, and you'll know this, Claire, because you had the similar journey to me, where it's like you think there's going to be a point where you're going to be able to sit back and go, I've made it, I can relax now. And
Mm.
there's just not. So, because the goalpost just gets moving. So
Mhm.
oh, you think I'll work really hard now and I'll stress myself out. And then in 6 months' time, I'll be able to enjoy the fruit of my labor and I'll relax. But
Mm.
actually, if you can't enjoy the journey, then you actually won't be able to enjoy the destination. Because I don't know if this has happened to you, but I've definitely had points in my career, lots of points in my career, where I've actually got what I wanted, and I'm like, why am I not? Why hasn't this fulfilled me? Like, what is it? And it's like, oh no, it's because it's deeper work that you have to do that deeper work as well. Like there's nothing external that's going to make you that's going to fill that whatever that is.
That is so pertinent. Like it's so pertinent to mention that, and so resonant as well. When when people will come with really ambitious goals to me, and I love that. Like I love ambition, and then I also love the joyful, sustainable growth. So opening my laptop is just a joy. Like this whole year, even though it's been bonkers, it's been a joy like all the way through. And when it started going into that place of like being not joyful, it was because I'd just forgotten to live my life. It's like it's not all about work. It can't be. Like I need to live my life, and the life needs to be the life that I want it to be now, not the life that I want it to be when I hit like X number of whatever. It's like it doesn't matter. So being able to go for coffee with my husband while the kids are at school, being able to go to the spa through the week, like if that's what I want to do, like those things have always been important to me, and they're just simple things. And I think marking those milestones, like and where it lands in our body. So when things started going really well for me on Substack, I had a few close friends saying, "What are you doing to celebrate?" And it made me tear up. I was like, I don't know, like I don't know how to celebrate this stuff. Like it's just not part of my like embodied self. Like I'm just not sure what that would even mean. And so I started trying to kind of go into that a bit and trying to lean into like what would a celebration look like. So it's tempting to be like, oh, do I buy a thing? And absolutely, like you can buy a thing if that's what you want to do. But for me, it was like really thinking through, okay, like I've hit this milestone or whatever, and I'm going to go for this coffee with Dave, and we're going to talk about the thing that I did. And he's like such a great cheerleader. He's amazing to live with. It's amazing living with a coach. I definitely have to like pin a lot of my success and stability, because I am an emotional person. It's good that he's here. So there was that in that kind of going, oh, okay, like this is what I'm doing. But the joy of the work is always there for me. I absolutely love it. And that's what I want people to have, that beautiful blend of personal and professional, where it's not like a job coming to your Substack. Of course, there's work to be done, but it's more of a place for self-expression and taking people through, your readers and your paid subscribers, through the seasons that you're in, and feeling safe to do that. So I think we've seen like a lot of corporate BS on other places of the internet. Like, so and people have like a connection with platforms, right? Like my connection is with Substack. I just love it. But on some platforms, it's like I don't know how to squeeze myself into the mold that would make me palatable on that platform. So I just don't, right? Like, and I think within Substack, there's an affinity that my people seem to have where they're like, oh, I get it, Claire. Like, I can be passionate, I can share my passions, and I can come to it in a short form way, in an audio way, in a video way. I can make it work for me. And I just love that. I really, really love that. And I'm so glad that you've had that experience and given yourself that experience to play as well on a platform, because it is fun, it is playful, and it
Mhm.
can be really fun.
It is fun, like if you're not in, like it's such a difficult, like obviously we're not down the mines, like I'm not,
We're not
there's
down the mines. And if you're wondering what that means, it's because Joe and I are from coal mining areas in the northeast. And so I live in one now. Obviously, the coal mines are closed, like nobody's mining for coal, but my cottage is an ex mining cottage. So there's a connection there. So we have to explain for the global audience. But yeah, we're not down the mines. And thank goodness
we're
we're
not,
not.
we're
Yeah.
not, but it's difficult in a totally different way. And I,
Mm.
I always say this to my yoga teachers as well. It's like you have to enjoy it, because why would you choose this life if you didn't enjoy it? Like
Yeah.
there's not there's you have I was in a mastermind with my coach the other week, and we were talking about making videos, and I said, and if I had all the money in the world, what videos would I make?
Mm.
And someone said, "Oh, if you had all the money in the world, would you still make videos?" And I was like, "Well, of course I would.
Okay.
Of course I would still make videos. Of course I
Mhm.
would still." And it really realizing that, I was like, "Oh no, I love this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
and when I start feeling stressed about it, it's because I start taking it seriously. Like I
Yeah.
start and I think it's a very core belief, isn't it, that we need to take our work seriously, like in
Yeah,
order for it to be
there's an
fab.
ethic there. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
something that we as online business owners are able to put down about that core belief as well. Like that kind of, okay, like I'm on emails Monday to Thursday. What are you doing on a Friday? It's like anything I want, guys.
Yeah.
It's like, and so modeling some of that and being able to turn stuff off or be on a weekend. Like sometimes I love to write on a
Mm.
weekend and I'm like, oh, right, I've written something there and like it's going to be something, it's scheduled for through the week. So taking that in terms of like how you feel with your energy
Yeah.
and not again forcing yourself into a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 mold. It might sound super duper privileged, but it's really not. It's that place of making a choice, right? And coming to it and making a choice to do the work that's going to get you to the income goals that are going to make things sustainable. And then within that, somehow making the choice that gives you the design of the life that you want as well, alongside all of that. So being self-employed since 2008, I've tried my best with that. Like, and I've not always got it right, but I feel like there's always opportunity for us to test and adjust as the week goes on as
Mhm.
well.
And I just think you've got to rescue yourself. Like that's the thing
Mm-hmm.
about the wonderful thing about being self-employed is that no one's telling you what to do. And
Yeah.
the awful thing about being self-employed is no one's telling you what to do. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
you've got to create those boundaries yourself. And it's really, really hard. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it, and you have to allow you have to believe that you are worth having a happy life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really hard. I know that I self-sabotage a lot where like I can't believe that I'm allowed, like how audacious, like how rude, like how dare I have a life that I get up and I just enjoy, like what so I kind of self-sabotage. I find things to do that I don't enjoy, or I say I have to do this and I have to do this, and I have to catch myself to be like, I'm not saving anybody by making my life rubbish. Like
Mhm, mhm.
and when you have that ease, and I'm saying ease, not that I need to justify this, but I'm saying ease as in like the energy flow rather than like it, because it's not
Yeah.
just easy, but like when you allow yourself that ease and that flow of energy, and that like um you allow yourself to just do what you're good at,
Mm,
and really lean into the flourishing parts. That's when, weirdly, that's when you really step into your power, and then you can start making changes, and you suddenly have like the ability to then if you have money, then you can actually put that money to you've got more ability to change things. You can give to charities, you can give to, like,
mm,
if your belief is that your life has to be hard and you're doing that to yourself, and
mm,
obviously there's external factors as well. I'm not taking like systemic things, but
mhm,
I'm saying when it's your core belief that's stopping you, which it was for me for a long time,
mm,
that you're actually not. I think there's part of it you that thinks that you're doing that for the good of the world, and you're not.
mm,
It's not making the world a better place by you being miserable.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, I get that. I get that. I think there's something like super complicated to probably unpack over like some posts or some classes or something like around this mindset stuff, because you've been doing mindset work for years. I've been doing mindset work for years. But when we're presented with, I don't know whether it's like, I think it is key milestones in our business, I'm going to say, because I've had so many key milestones this year, and some of them weren't even goals. Like they just knocked me sideways and took me by surprise. And I think when you're presented with those things that other people start cheerleading you about, you've got to somehow try and like do the extra mindset work to meet them and to be grateful for them and to be thankful, and not to kind of be like, okay, next,
Mhm.
So there's something in that, isn't there? That's like difficult to articulate in the here and now, but it's definitely landing with me. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that recently. We hit Amazon like top number one Amazon in hot new releases yesterday for the book. I know it's mad, right? So, but my way, flash the book again. My way of dealing with that is to like tell three people this is what, like, this is literally a system. I tell 3 people about the thing that's like a thing that's like good, and I feel like really proud of. And then I'll put it somewhere like my Instagram stories, because then I get the wave of like how other people are experiencing it, and then I can sort of experience it. Because at the time I'm like, I don't really know what it means. Like, I get it.
Mm.
Like, I get that it's probably quite a good thing, but I also don't know how it's decided. Like, I don't know who decided that it would go there, whether that's an algorithmic thing, whether we've made a certain number of sales. Like, I really don't know. So it's one of those where it's just really nice to receive that energy where people say, like, that's really cool. Like, my friend Hannah was like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, that's so sweet. And she was like, am I allowed to be proud of my friend? I was like, I think you are. And I think
You
that's
are.
really lush. So, yeah. So things like that, I think, in going in our little journey, celebrating our 50 subscribers on Substack, our 101, bestseller status, whatever it is, like leaning into that, because that's only the start. There's a whole train that we can go on with a set of creative practices, with a set of consistent showing up and doing the work, and also like leaning into people who give us that permission to like drop into our bodies like Joe, or come in and being creative over on Sparkle on Substack, and giving yourself that big permission slip to stay creative on a platform that gives us such amazing tools. So yeah, we should wrap up because we've been on an hour and 10 minutes. I knew we would, because we like to talk to each other, but I hope it's been useful in terms of that big shift of Joe's audience, the big audience on Instagram over to Substack, and how that's all been working. And I think there's something for you guys around being really canny and clever about your ecosystem. So your free content ecosystem, but then also your business ecosystem, and where Substack fits within that, because Substack can be a low ticket offer. So low ticket, I mean, like within your offer suite, it would be, like the £6-7 a month mark, or you can, translate that into dollars, but it doesn't have to be. There's other ways with Substack, and you can really look at that kind of higher price tier, like I have with the Diamond membership, which is my founding member tier, and serve people in another way, because Substack gives us the tech to do that. So definitely map it all out for the new year. I've got classes to help. Get your post-it notes, work it all through. Go and follow Jo on Instagram, because she does a brilliant job. So even if you're not in the yoga niche, there's something that you're going to learn from the way Jo shows up online. And what looks easeful to Jo, there's a whole big set of like years, practices, coaches, mastermind, colleague chats. There's all of that going on. Like, she really supports herself in our business and in the work that she wants to do. So that's what you're seeing. So sometimes we can look at things online and think, oh, well, it's all right for them. And it's like, it's all right for you too. Like, just do the next right thing. Like, find out what you need in terms of support. There are amazing communities on Substack, and I do think 2025 is going to see a big shift in more space holders in terms of the community elements of Substack. We've already started to see it a little bit, but I think that's going to be really big. So if you're curious about that, whether you're introverted or extroverted, I can help. So, okay, thank you so much, Jo. Thank you everyone who was able to join live. And if you're watching the replay, it'll be open for comments. So you can ask Jo and I questions about everything that we've said, and then we can kind of remount this chat. So thanks again, Jo. It was lush to speak to you.
It's always a pleasure, Claire. Always a pleasure.
See you
See you
really
later.
soon. Take
Bye.
care.